Very good afternoon to you. In the today's class, chapter number 15, part number 3, we will discuss about the causes of biodiversity loss. We have discussed what do you mean by the biodiversity, what is the area relationship and other aspects. But as far as causes of biodiversity loss is concerned, basically there are four different types of causes responsible for this. The first one is habitat loss. Basically, habitat is the place where organisms live, and the loss in the habitat it may cause the biodiversity loss, and some sort of fragmentation is also responsible for this purpose. So we will discuss in the detail later on. Over exploitation, you can see the example of this point is passenger pigeon. Similarly, introduction of alien species invasion. It may cause the loss of biodiversity, such as if you have introduced the Nile perch fish in the Victoria Lake, then we will see the indigenous species of fishes were extincted and co-extinction. So all these are the important points we need to focus one by one. So we will use basically help of PPTs so that you can understand easily this one. So in the causes of biodiversity loss, you can see the accelerated rates of species extinctions that the world is facing now are due to human activities. Basically, anthropogenic is man is the main factor. So whatever happening in our climate or on the earth, the man is the man factor. The man is mainly responsible for this activity. So there are four major causes we have already discussed, and in all these four causes are known as the Evil Quartet. Have your focus. The Evil Quartet is the sobriquet used to describe them, which are as follows. Already I have told you: habitat loss and fragmentation, overexploitation, alien species invasion, and co-extinction. We will discuss it one by one. The first one is habitat loss and fragmentation. So most important cause driving animals and plants to extinction. This is the major cause because habitat is lost. The most dramatic example of habitat loss is come from the tropical rainforest area. It is reduced to 6% from 14% of earth land surface. In the past century, the area of tropical rainforest was 14%. Now this is reduced up to 6%. They are being destroyed fast. By the time you finish this chapter, 1000 more hectares of rainforest would have been lost. So it is a very great speed of cutting the trees. The Amazonian rainforest is called lungs of earth. Amazonian rainforest, this is known as lungs of the earth, is being cut cleared for cultivating soybeans or for conservation to grasslands for rising beef cattle. Why do we call lungs of planet? Because it produces almost 20% oxygen of total. Besides total loss, the degradation of many habitat by pollution is also threatens the survival of many species. You can see what a drastic condition of forest area. This is the habitat loss. You can see this is the forest area, this is also forest area, and it is cut. So it is the major cause when we will see the loss of biodiversity. Similarly, when large area of habitat are broken up into small fragments due to various human activities, it is also the cause of biodiversity loss. So mammals, birds and others requires large territories for survival. For example, migratory birds badly affected and leading to population decline. A figure is given here. You can see, suppose this is the a large area, and after fragmentation it is subdivided in two parts. So habitat loss and fragmentation. When large ecosystems become fragmented, species with large ranges may not have enough area to survive. So what will you see? Still birds are here, rats are here, and this reptile is here, but there is the absence of bear because it requires a large area for survival, and there is not sufficient habitat for this animal. Now the second point is over exploitation. So humans have always depended on nature for food and shelter, but when need turns to greed, it leads to over exploitation of natural resources. So many species extinctions in the last 500 years. You have an example: Steelers cow, Steeler sea cow also, and passenger pigeons. But due to over exploitation, many marine fish populations around the world are over harvested, endangering the continued existence of some commercially important species. So you can see this is the Steelers sea cow. It is extinct because of overexploitation. Second example is passenger pigeon. It is also extinct. Its scientific name is Ectopistis migratorius. And the next one is whale. It is facing the endangering condition. Overexploitation of species cause the loss of genetic diversity and loss in the species abundance of both individual and groups of interacting species, although this is not given in your book. Now the third major reason of loss of biodiversity is alien species invasion. When alien species are introduced unintentionally or deliberately for whatever purpose, some of them become invasive and cause decline or extinction of the indigenous species. There is a great example of Nile perch introduced into Lake Victoria in East Africa led eventually to the extinction of an ecologically unique assemblage of more than 200 species of cichlid fish in the lake. So this beautiful fish is Nile perch fish, and it was introduced in the Lake Victoria, and it had eaten the local 200 species of cichlid fishes in the Victoria Lake. This is the cichlid lake, cichlid fish in the lake. So these pictures you need to remember. Similarly, the environmental damage caused and the threat posed to our native species by invasive weed species like these are the important weeds found in the India. This is common also. Parthenium, this is also known as carrot grass or congress grass. We have discussed in chapter number 2 already. Lantana, this is the weed. It can be seen nowadays in our area. It has very beautiful flowers, very small flowers and colorful flowers, and this is water hyacinth, Ecornia. So all these are the species that may cause loss of biodiversity. This is carrot grass, this is lantana, and this is water hyacinth. Another example is the recent illegal introduction of African catfish Clarius garipinus for aquaculture purpose is posing a threat to the indigenous catfishes in our rivers. This is the African catfish you can see, and this black one is indigenous catfish. This African catfish is dangerous for this species, indigenous species. Now the next and last is co-extinction. What do you mean by co-extinction? Co-extinction and co-threatened refers to the phenomena of the loss or decline of the host species resulting in the loss or endangerment of other species that depends on it. So the species which are depending on each other, they will coexist and they will co-extinct. If the conditions are not favorable, they will show the co-extinction. Co-extinction is especially common when a keystone species goes extinct. You can see the example extinct species the dodo. This is the bird found in Mauritius and it was extincted. When a host species become extinct, its unique assemblage of parasites also meet the same fate and the plant and animal. So, in the co-extinction, extinction of host species leads to extinction of parasite also. Co-evolved plant pollinator mutualism where extinction of one invariably lead to the extinction of the other. You can see this beautiful bird. It is depending on this flower for the nectar and pollen. If it is extinct, then automatically this flower species will also die because there will be the absence of pollination. So this is all about the biodiversity loss. Now effects of biodiversity loss. What kind of effects can be seen on earth? So decline in plant production, there will be the great decline in the plant production, lowered resistance to environmental perturbations such as drought, and increased variability in certain ecosystem processes such as plant productivity, water use, pest and disease cycle. Now we will see the next part. You just need to focus on this, and if you can remember, you can remember. Biodiversity loss causes droughts, floods, wildfires, earthquakes, pollution in food chain, degree of specialization, destruction of habitats, excessive pollution, overconsumption, climate change, hunting or exploitation, conflicts and wars, and invasive species. What kind of effects can be seen? Ecological effects, spread of disease, loss of livelihood of for locals, loss of recreational space, society effects, effects on food production, economic effects. And what are the solutions, basic solutions for to stop biodiversity loss? Government restrictions and policies, education, protection of species, protection of habitats, stop deforestation, prevent overhunting and overfishing, prevent species invasion, stop pollution, stop overexploitation of resources, save energy, stop overconsumption and convene others. Now we will start the next and last part of the chapter, biodiversity conservation. So biodiversity conservation is the protection and management of biodiversity to obtain resources for sustainable development. This is the perfect definition of biodiversity conservation. It has three main objectives: sustainable utilization of species and ecosystem, to maintain life supporting systems and essential ecological processes. Now, what are the basic reasons? Reasons for conservation biodiversity is grouped into three categories. The first is narrowly utilitarian. It is basically for economic advantage. Broadly utilitarian, we cannot pay the money in place of these services and ethical issues. The first is narrowly utilitarian. Narrowly utilitarian refers to those parts of biodiversity or those plants and animals from which humans derive benefits like cereals, medicines, etc. Basically, we will get economic benefit from these biodiverse organisms. Human derive countless economic benefits from nature. This is the first. Food, we receive the food from these plants, cereals, pulses, fruits and other. Firewood, fiber, constructional materials, industrial products like tannins, lubricants, dyes, resins, perfumes and products of medicinal importance. And the next is more than 25% medicines are obtained from plants and nearly 25,000 species can be used as a medicinal plant around the world. Many plants from tropical rainforests yet to be explored. So, yet to discover these medicinal plants. Now, next and important point is bioprospecting. It is important for one mark question. Exploring molecular, genetic, and species level diversity for products of economic importance. Nations endowed with rich biodiversity expect to reap enormous benefits. Narrowly utilitarian conditions are shown by this one: food, firewood, fiber, medicines, construction materials, industrial products, and all these are used for economic benefits from nature. We receive the economic benefits from nature. This is narrowly utilitarian. The next is broadly utilitarian. It refers to the broad and general uses of biodiversity like oxygen, pollination, aesthetic values, which is not limited to a particular species. Means biodiversity plays a major role in many ecosystem services that nature provides. You can see the fast dwindling Amazonian forest is estimated to produce through photosynthesis 20% of oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere. So, Amazonian forest produces 20% of total oxygen, and a question is asked here: can we put an economic value on this service by nature? Answer is: attempts to put a dollar value on the natural world, so called natural capital or ecosystem services, have produced some frankly staggering numbers. A seminal 1997 paper valued the world's ecosystem services at US dollars 33 trillion. The estimate was controversial given that if wafted the entire global market economy, which is the time stood at roughly US dollar 18 trillion a year. So it is very costly. We cannot pay the nature against the oxygen, pollination, and aesthetic values. Pollination is the another ecosystem. It is provided through pollinator layer: bees, bumblebees, birds, bats, and other animal agents that pollinate the plant, without which seed cannot be produced by plants. Another question is: what will be the cost of accomplishing pollination without help from natural pollinators? Suppose if natural pollinators are absent, then what will you have to pay to the nature? The cost of accomplishing pollination without natural pollinators is incommensurable. But if it is only for a smaller area like your garden or few plants, then the cost depends on the quality of pollen grains used for pollination. So aesthetic pleasure we get from the biodiversity, like walking through the thick woods, watching spring flowers in full bloom, or waking up to a bulbul song in morning. So bulbul song in the morning is very pretty, and we are not paying anything to bulbul. All these are priceless, so we cannot pay the price for this one. Broadly utilitarian ecosystem services: Amazonian forest produce 20% of total oxygen in the atmosphere on earth. Pollination of plants through pollinators, bees, birds, and bats. The aesthetic pleasures of walking through this wood, watching spring flowers, etc. So we have finished two important aspects of biodiversity. The next is ethical. It has philosophically or spiritually value. We have moral duty to care for their well-being and pass on our biological legacy to good order to future generations. So it is our moral duty to protect and preserve all the biodiversity members or biodiversity. Ethical arguments: there are millions of plants, animals, and microbes on this earth with whom we share. Each species on the earth has some intrinsic value, so we are not mad to kill any species or destroy any species. Suppose you have seen the snake nearby you, then don't kill the snake. It is also useful for ecosystem. It is therefore our moral duty to take care of all the living creatures and pass on our biological legacy in good order to future generations. How do we conserve biodiversity? We can conserve the biodiversity by preventing the cutting of trees. We need to stop the cutting of trees, putting a ban on hunting of animals. We need to stop the hunting. Efficient utilization of natural resources and protected areas should be developed for animals where no human activities are allowed. Biodiversity conservation, a beautiful figure is given here. The next is biodiversity conservation. It is further subdivided in two parts, in situ and ex situ. In situ means in the natural habitat and natural area, ex situ in the artificial conditions. In situ biodiversity conservation contains protected areas like national parks, sanctuaries, and biosphere reserves. And biosphere reserves are further subdivided in two parts, terrestrial biosphere reserve and marine biosphere reserves. Although it is not given in your book. Ex situ conservation, seed bank, you can preserve the best seeds or seeds of endangered plants. Cryopreservation, we can preserve the gametes, feed gene bank. The second is arboreta, botanical gardens, zoological park, aquaria, and third is scarred plants and home gardens. So these are the classification of biodiversity conservation. When we conserve and protect the whole ecosystem, its biodiversity at all level is protected. We save the entire forest to save the tiger. This approach is called in situ, on-site conservation. So we will discuss both the aspects in detail. In situ conservation. Focus on this definition. In situ means in the natural habitats, in the natural conditions, in the nature. The conservation of ecosystems and natural habitats and the maintenance and recovery of viable populations of species in their natural surrounding is called in situ conservation. What do you mean by biodiversity hotspots? Again, you need to focus on the definition. A biodiversity hotspot is a biogeographic region with significant levels of biodiversity that is threatened by human habitation. The presence of human is always dangerous. No one, there is no any animal which is too much dangerous in comparison of human beings. So hotspot in biodiversity is also regions of accelerated habitat loss. Now what is endemism? Endemism is the ecological state of a species being native to a single defined geographic area such as an island, nation, country or other defined zone or habitat type. Organisms that are indigenous to the place are not endemic to it if they are also found elsewhere. Suppose if we talk about the kangaroo, this is endemic to Australia because it is not found elsewhere. Similarly, kiwi, it is found only in the New Zealand. That is the endemic species of New Zealand. So according to 2020 data, actually I have given a recent data here. It is not given your book. So this paragraph is beyond your NCERT book. So according to 2020 data, around the 36 areas qualify as hotspots. In your book, 34 hotspots are given, 25 initially discovered, and later on 9 more added. They represent just 2.4% of Earth's land surface, but they support more than half of the world plant species as endemics. Species found no place else, and nearly 43% of birds, mammals, reptiles, and amphibian species as endemics. Out of 36 hotspots, although this is 34 in your book, out of 36 hotspots in the world, in India there are 4 biodiversity hotspots. In your book, 3 biodiversity hotspots are given in your NCERT book. So the first is the Himalayas, the Western Ghats, the Indo-Burma region, the Sundarland, includes Nicobar group of islands also. So these hotspots are also regions of accelerated habitat loss. These hotspots cover our country high biodiversity regions, although all the biodiversity hotspots put together cover less than 2% of Earth's area. So India is very rich in biodiversity, although it contains only almost 2% or 2.4% of total area. These harbors extremely high species, and its protection is very important to reduce the ongoing mass extinction by almost 30%. A figure, this is not given in your book, biodiversity hotspots. This orange one or yellow one, this is Himalayas. This blue area, it is the Indo-Burma region, and the Western Ghats, this green region, and these are the Sundarland, and its some part is given in the Bengal also. Other protected areas under in situ conservation are, this is your books data, 14 biosphere reserve, 90 national parks, and 448 wildlife sanctuaries. Different types of acts were established by Government of India time to time. Wildlife Protection Act 1972, Indian Forest Act 1972, Forest Conservation Act 1980, Environmental Protection Act 1986, Biological Diversity Act 2002, and Scheduled Tribes and other traditional forest dwellers Recognition of Forest Right Act 2006, and many more. India has also a history of religious and cultural traditions that emphasizes protection of nature. In many cultures, tracts of forest in many culture tracts of forest were set aside, and all these trees and wildlife within were venerated and given protection. Sacred groves. What are these? Have a look. Sacred groves of India are forest fragments of varying sizes which are commonly protected and which usually have a significant religious connotation for a protecting community. Hunting, lodging are usually strictly prohibited within these patches. So important sacred groves of India are given here: Meghalaya, Khasi and Jaintia Hills, in the Rajasthan Aravalli Hills, Karnataka and Maharashtra Western Ghats, in the Madhya Pradesh Sarguja, Chanda and Bastar area. The sacred groves are the last refuges for large number of rare and threatened plants. Now we will discuss about the ex situ conservation. Basically, this is the conservation in the artificial conditions. So ex situ conservation literally means off-site conservation. It is the process of protecting an endangered species, variety or breed or plant or animal outside its natural habitat. Threatened animals and plants are taken out from their natural habitat and placed in the special setting where they can be protected and given special care. So some examples are given here for the ex situ conservation: establishment of zoological parks, botanical gardens, wildlife safari parks, etc. There are many animals that have become extinct in the wild but protected in zoological parks. In recent years, it has advanced beyond keeping threatened species in enclosures. Preservation in viable and fertile condition of gametes of threatened species by the cryopreservation. Basically, this is a special technique in which gametes are preserved under 196 degrees centigrade minus temperature. Genetic strains are preserved in the seed banks. Eggs can be fertilized in vitro. Plants can be propagated by tissue culture technique. And you can see these are the animals residing in the zoological parks. And as far as genetic material preservation is concerned, there is the NBPGR, National Bureau of Plant Genetic Resources, New Delhi, and NBAGR, National Bureau of Animal Genetic Resources. So these places are important for us. Convention on biodiversity. Basically, we will focus on two conventions. Biodiversity does not know the political boundaries, and its conservation is collective responsibilities of the nations. The Earth Summit held in Rio de Janeiro in 1992 called upon all nations to take appropriate measures for conservation of biodiversity and sustainable utilization of its benefits. Basically, the Earth Summit was the meeting of almost world's whole countries, and World Summit on Sustainable Development held in 2002 in Johannesburg, South Africa. 190 countries pledged their commitment to achieve by 2010 a significant reduction a current rate of biodiversity loss at global, regional and local levels. So we have finished this chapter here, biodiversity and conservation, and the organization which is working on the protection of environment and biodiversity, that is UNEP, United Nations Environmental Programme, and Earth Summit, its bifurcation is given here. This is the Rio Plus 20 Summit. This is United Nations Climate Change, Kyoto Protocol, Copenhagen Accord. This is biosafety. So dear students, this is the end of the chapter. We have finished 9 chapters so far in biology. So try to complete all these things. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.